Welcome into another episode of Between the Hashes. As always, we got me, we got Charlie, we got Peter, and as always, we have a big weekend of college football coming up. And let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. We got Georgia going to the Grove. What are our initial thoughts on this game, fellas?
I didn't say much, but I don't have much to say, but I think they need to score early and score fast to have a chance to win. Carson
As
Beck's
in,
been
as
turning.
in Ole Miss.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. And Carson Beck has been turnover happy recently. So if you can force them into turnovers early on and score early on, I think it gives Ole Miss a good chance to win.
Yeah, no, I agree. He has, I think it's like 11 picks in 4 games, which is over 2 picks a game, which is ridiculous. But what's interesting is like every single they've won all of these games, and every single team except Alabama, who beat them, is failing to turn these turnovers into more points. So I think what Ole Miss really needs to do is not only just force the turnovers, but turn these turnovers into points, score. Texas only scored 15 points in a game where Beck threw 3 picks. That's kind of abysmal, especially when you have a potent offense like Texas's. So force the turnovers, but you got to score off them too. If Peter, I don't know if Peter had anything to say at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk both sides of the ball for Ole Miss and Georgia. So Ole Miss this week looks like they're gonna be missing their running back one, Henry Parrish. Um, Really great running back, fourth in the SEC with 678 yards and 10 touchdowns. Um, I really think if Ole Miss wants to win the game, they need to win the battle of the trenches. Um, their defensive line has amassed 42 sacks over the season. They had some huge transfers coming this year, and they've made an impact. I think they need to continue to do that um, against Georgia's elite offensive line, who just got Tate Ratledge back from Florida. Um, Offensively, let Jackson cook. He has really found his groove over these last couple weeks. I think the Arkansas win is a real statement to the groove that he's getting into, and it's at the best time of the year, towards the end of the season, and going to the bowl season, conference championship season, and then the playoffs. Um, for Georgia, I really think Georgia needs to continue to adapt to the injuries that they've amassed over the offensive line and the running back room. Trevor Etienne looks to be available this week after going down with a rib injury last week against Florida. Um, Offensively, continuing on, I think this offense has a chance to be consistently elite if Carson Beck does not turn over the football. As long as they minimize their turnovers, like you said, that he's thrown 11 picks in 4 games or whatever it was, over 2 interceptions a game. It's just abysmal for a Georgia quarterback to do. I really think that this Georgia offense can be elite. He is the X factor. He is make or break with this offense. And then a little side note is they just have to continue to be elite on fourth down. They're 87% completion percentage is best in the SEC, or on fourth down is best in the SEC. I think they need to continue to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, 42 sacks, that's absolutely insane. That is a lot of pressure that they're getting on opposing quarterbacks. But also, what's interesting is Ole Miss is second in the country in run defense. So what Georgia's going to have to do is Georgia hasn't ran the ball especially well this season. So what they're going to have to do, unfortunately for them, unfortunately for them, because Beck hasn't been playing so well, neither of the receivers, they're going to have to get a pass game going. They're going to have to complete not just short passes, but intermediate passes and deep balls and all these different things across the middle into the boundaries in order to keep Ole Miss from loading the box. Just Ole Miss is going to force them to throw the ball right now. Georgia has a drop problem. Beck has had an issue with accuracy over the past few weeks. So it's something that Ole Miss is going to do. They're going to force them to beat them throwing the ball. But what's interesting about that is Ole Miss also has a very suspect pass defense, ranked 69th in the country. So if Georgia can take advantage of that, if you can take advantage of a weaker pass defense in order to help establish a run game for yourself, I think that Georgia can leave with a win.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
I mean, we've seen Carson Beck be elite. I mean, last season he was, a top 5, 10 quarterback in college football, and he was projected to have, a Heisman campaign, or
That's be a
be
top
one of
three
the
pick.
yeah, exactly, be one of the top picks in the draft this year. But I mean, damn, he's looked terrible this year. It's just the last couple games of, I think he's thrown this season. I think he's 9 touchdowns to 11 or 12 picks on the year. I'm like That's not good for a Georgia quarterback. But we've seen him do well on all three levels. Honestly, this game, just like starting off first quarter, give him some easy throws, check downs, screen passes, just something to get his rhythm going before he starts getting that deep ball and some of the 15, 20-yard passes down. Because like you said, I think exploiting this weak Ole Miss defense, pass defense, will be the answer for Georgia, as long as Carson Beck does not give the ball to the other team.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm really interested in seeing how guys like Arian Smith step up at receiver, if they can limit the drops, because that's going to be huge too. Like, there's going to be big third downs. There's going to be big fourth downs where you've got to hold on to that ball. So definitely interested to see how the receivers step up. So when we talk about this game, it's a huge playoff implication game. What's at stake for Ole Miss going into this game?
Their season. I mean, they had one of the best rosters in the country. I think they were top 4 in the country at the beginning of the year, were they? Maybe like 5 or 6.
Fourth or fifth or something like that, yeah.
They had so much hype. I mean, one of the best offenses in the country. People thought the defense was going to improve a lot with Walter Nolan. And I don't know what happened. I expected Ole Miss to be I thought they were going to be top 4. I thought they had a chance to win the SEC, and I actually picked them to win the SEC. But I think if Jackson Dart starts playing better, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I have a migraine, guys. No, you take over.
No, I agree. Ole Miss, not only one of the best rosters on paper, but one of the more expensive rosters. They went all in this year. They got guys like Princey, who I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. They got guys like Walter Nolan, Trey Amos. They brought in a lot of guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to come in and help, because in all honesty, defense has been Ole Miss's issue under Lane Kiffin. But defense looks much improved this year, but there have been games where the offense is pretty lackluster. I mean, they look like not a typical Kiffin offense out there. So yeah, obviously playoffs are at stake for Ole Miss. And then when it comes to Georgia, I think you can still make the playoffs if you lose this game, 100%. Like, I don't think that's out of the question. They can win out or whatever. But I think the biggest thing at risk for Georgia here is their I think it's like a 50-something game non-Alabama win streak, which is absolutely absurd. So, I mean, obviously you don't want to lose this game, but if we're talking about who can afford a loss more, it's probably Georgia on the road.
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite parts of college football are now the 12 team playoff, but also how when you get into late in the season, you have these huge conference matchups. Some of these games become elimination games. This is an elimination game for Ole Miss. They're not even in the top 12 right now. I think they should be. I messed up my top 25 earlier that we did this week. I should have put Ole Miss in my top 12. I really think they're a good football team. They're a damn good football team. And I think they have an opportunity to beat Georgia. If Georgia takes a second loss, I think the playoff conversation for them becomes a lot more complicated, because there are going to be 2 lost teams in the playoffs this year. I think Notre Dame will be one of those teams. I think Georgia, if they lose to Ole Miss this week and win out, I think they will make the playoffs. It just becomes a harder conversation of where they're going to be in the top 12. I think this is the biggest game of Lane Kiffin's career. This is their season, and this will determine not just if they make the playoffs. I think this determines a lot about their future as well. Recruits see teams making the playoffs, they're like, oh shit, I want to play for them. I want to be in the race for national championship. I think this is huge for Ole Miss and their program. For Georgia, not so much Georgia, but more for Carson Beck. I think this game determines his draft position next year. I think this determines whether he's undrafted, a 1, 2, or 3 day pick. I really think this is huge. This is a career game for Carson Beck. And if he continues to underperform like he has the last 4 weeks, I don't think he will be, I already don't think he's a first round pick. I never thought he was a first round pick. But I think if he continues to play like he has been, I think he goes undrafted. I think he hasn't shown what it takes to be an NFL quarterback yet. I really, even last year, I never thought he was, a future Heisman contender, but whatever. But yeah, I think this is this is a big game.
I agree, and yeah, not to get too much in the playoff talk, but it gets really interesting if Ole Miss wins this game and wins out the season at 10-2, and then you have a 10-2 either Alabama or LSU, and you have a 10-2 Georgia, and then you have an 11-1 Notre Dame, but with a loss to NIU. So it just gets really interesting for the playoff committee if Ole Miss wins this game.
Or said all SEC
I
schools.
said Notre Dame.
Oh, my bad.
Well, I'm just saying this because like I see Penn State winning out at 11-1. I
No,
see
I'm just kidding. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, but like, so yeah, if Kiffin doesn't win this game, I think this says a lot about him as a coach. Obviously, I get it's a tough league to play in right now, especially with the transfer portal NIL era. You're one of the teams benefiting most from this transfer portal era. This is his best roster on paper that he's had since he's been at Ole Miss, and if he cannot go 10-2 with this roster, can he go 10-2? That's the question. So, and I mean, he has gone 10-2 before, but if he can't make the playoffs with this roster, then there's something to be said there. So, any predictions for the game, fellas?
I actually think Ole Miss is gonna win this game. I
was gonna
love
say
Ole
that.
Miss. We got Davidson Igbinosun from them, and we got Judkins from them. So I just have to give them thanks. But I ultimately think Jackson Dart's playing the best ball of his life right now, and I think that he's gonna knock off Georgia. And I love seeing a Georgia loss. So
You and me both.
Yeah,
I pick an Ole Miss too. 30-27 Ole Miss.
I think the Georgia defense makes a play late. I think they get enough pressure on Jackson Dart. I think they make a play late, and I think this is really going to be on the Georgia defense to win this game. So, I think Georgia, but very
is Trey Harris playing like 100%?
he I think he like played a couple snaps last week or so. I would expect
Didn't he not warm up and then play?
he didn't warm up, and then they said he was going to play or something. It was strange.
Oh, that's really smart.
But he didn't get a single catch though. Like Jordan Watkins kind of took over, so they didn't really need to play. But
Mhm.
but staying in the SEC, Alabama goes down to Baton Rouge this weekend in another playoff elimination game. Seems like we have a lot of these at this point in the season. What does Alabama need to do to leave this Death Valley with a win?
Milrow. Jalen Milrow needs to play his best game, I think. And I think he has to improve a lot over what I've seen recently. Except, I feel like he's been improving week by week. But if Milrow uses his legs a lot, we saw Marcel Reed versus LSU. I think that LSU has a big chance. Sorry guys, I'm so sick. But Bama has a huge chance to win this game.
Yeah, Peter.
My brain is like
Um,
so good.
I got a couple keys for Bama. Obviously, Jalen Milrow is one of those keys. I think just like Carson Beck, he's the X factor. Another quarterback who's not lived up to the expectations he was given at the start of the year after his performances last year. He's been better than Beck. I mean, the bar's pretty fucking low, but I really think LSU.
Imagine saying that before the season.
Yeah.
I would get shit for that, but nowadays I can say that like no question.
Yeah.
For Bama, I really think they need to exploit LSU's defensive weakness of the mobile quarterback. I get that the Marcel Reed substitution was not on the in the playbook for like Alabama's defense, which whatever, it makes sense. But Marcel Reed made Alabama's defense look like a JV squad. Like seriously, or LSU. What am I talking about? Oh, sorry, LSU. Marcel Reed made LSU's defense look like a JV squad, and I think if Jalen Milrow can do the same thing, I mean, obviously, LSU is expecting Jalen Milrow to run around. Last time he played, he had like 120 something yards on 20 carries or something like that last year. So obviously they're expecting it, but I think he needs to exploit that weakness in their defense. For Alabama as well, I think they need to improve in hostile road environments. They looked lost against Tennessee, and they looked so out of sync. I really think if they can figure out, and I think Death Valley is a much harder environment than Neyland, but it's which is going to be tough because they look terrible against Tennessee.
Yeah, I think one of the best things that could have happened to Bama before this game is a bye week. Obviously, LSU gets one too, but I think you could argue that Bama might have needed it a little bit more right now. Jalen Milrow has been banged up since week 4 or week 5. I mean, you can tell like they have run him into the dirt. I mean, he has an insane amount of carries. He's taken a lot of hits, a lot of big hits, a lot of design runs. So I think this is a big week for him to get healthy. But since Georgia, he's had 5 picks in 4 games, which is not great. He's been overthrowing receivers, but I think when you look at this game, the LSU pass defense, I think, is like in the middle towards the back of the SEC in yards allowed per game. So there are things to exploit there. Milroe, though, hasn't gone over 70% completion since Vandy, and previously at the first part of the season, he was above 80%. So that's something that I'm watching. I want to see Milroe improve. I want to see him take those checkdowns and not force it down the field every single play. And when he does throw it down the field, to throw it accurately, because he has not been throwing it accurately. So, but defensively also, like there's more keys. I mean, LSU ranks 5th in the country in pass offense, but they also rank 113th in rush offense in the country. So if you can stop that pass game, if you're able to drop, 7, 8 guys every play and continue to stop that run game, it's going to be hard for LSU to win that game. Against A&M, when Nussmeier faced pressure, he made really, really bad decisions, and that's kind of been a theme with him all year. He's a great quarterback. He's actually one of my favorite in the country. But when he faces pressure, he makes dumb decisions. He threw 3 picks against A&M with the most pressure he had seen in his face all year long. I think with a mix of that, there needs to be a pass rush. Alabama's LT Overton's been great this year for Alabama, defensive end, but those outside linebackers need to step up. Guys like Quay Rosal definitely need to step up. Milroe needs to run it between 15 and 20 times. I think that's the sweet spot, just like he did last year, 20 times. So we'll see. I think that, if you're able to, if LSU isn't able to stop Milroe on the ground, I don't see LSU winning this game, just because of the fact that if he's able to do that, they're going to have to load the box, and that's going to open up opportunities for Alabama downfield. So, and Alabama's a very explosive team when they play good offense. So, what about LSU, fellas? What does LSU need to do?
I basically said the same things you did. They can't turn the ball over. They got turnover happy versus A&M. And there was a clip going around where they went into the locker room, or like the film room, and Brian Kelly was just ripping apart Garrett Nussmeier. He walked in there, just pointed him out and showed him the interceptions. And I thought that paid dividends probably. And if Garrett Nussmeier doesn't turn over the ball, it gives LSU a huge chance to win. I think they will win. But if he doesn't if he gets turnover happy again, this game could get ugly. But yeah.
Yeah, like I said a second ago, that the LSU run offense is not very good. However, Alabama has struggled defending the run all year long. Dang, Charlie looks like he's shitting himself.
Dude, my head hurts so bad.
So Alabama, they struggled to defend the run all year. So if LSU is able to get at least an ounce of a run game going, like I say, it'll be hard for Alabama to win this game. So, but honestly, I think the main key to this game is the crowd. Death Valley is loud. Death Valley at night might be the loudest stadium in the country. Alabama is a very, very heavily penalized team. I think they rank 128th in penalties in the country. So that crowd is going to be a challenge. And if that crowd gets in their head and they start committing penalties like they did against Tennessee, Alabama will not win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I got basically the same things that you guys have been saying about, turnovers and passing and the rush game and stuff. So, I mean, LSU's pass offense is very high risk, high reward. While they have thrown 20 passing touchdowns, they have thrown 9 interceptions. Along with that, they've thrown 37 completions of 20 or more yards, which is 13th nationally. So they'd like throwing it downfield. Don't get me wrong, they do. And I think this would be a good time. This is a great time for LSU to exploit Alabama's banged up secondary, who, to be fair, is also a high risk, high reward program or team. They have snagged 11 picks on the year, but they also have given up 11 pass touchdowns. So, like you said, LSU's rush offense is really bad, and it ranks really, really low nationally. I think the keys for LSU for winning this game are the offensive line. They need to protect Nussmeier. They can't let him get pressured because, like you said, he makes terrible decisions under pressure. I think you need to get the passing game going early. I think you need to make some early strikes to Alabama's defense, because if you can't get this passing game going, there's no way LSU is going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm also really interested to see. I mean, LSU's got guys out wide like they always do. I mean, they got Kyron Lacey, they got C.J. Daniels, Aaron Anderson, and Alabama not only has a banged up secondary, and it's a talented secondary, but it's a very, very young secondary. So it's going to be interesting to see how they match up, especially with a speedy guy like Aaron Anderson and a really versatile guy like Kyron Lacey. So it'll be interesting. like we talked about last, there are implications in this game past playoffs. I mean, what would y'all say kind of is the biggest implication for each coach here?
Bama fans might question Kalen DeBoer's hire if he loses this game, and they're just gonna wonder what's going on, why Mora is playing like this, and all the above. And the same thing with Brian Kelly. He's known not to win big games. His nickname is Big Game Brian. At Notre Dame, he couldn't win big games either. And LSU fans might be calling for his job if he can't win another big game.
Yeah, I think. Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
uh, Kalen DeBoer, in my opinion, was the correct hire here.
I
However,
agree.
however, he will be crucified if he loses this game by the fans and by the media, and he will be put on the media hot seat, even though he is nowhere near being on a hot seat at all. And like you said, Brian Kelly, he is known for not being able to win super big games. So if he loses this game and LSU misses out on the playoffs, they go 9-3 or maybe 8-4, because they still have. Or wait, no, they already played A&M. Sorry.
I think this is their last hard game.
Yeah, so I mean, they finished 9-3, but that's not getting you in the playoffs. And I think LSU fans and that LSU brand is tired of not being in the playoffs. So I don't think
Who's LSU's rival?
well, it was their last week was A&M. I would call their main rival now Florida, just because LSU or Bama. Sorry, I would say their main rival is Bama now. Florida's one of them, but they're not really like they don't really have like an end of the year top rival. A&M, who they played the past few years at the end of the year, but I don't know who it is this year. But obviously, I don't think Kelly will be fired or anything, but I think the leash will start to get shorter and shorter if he loses this game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with. I think Kalen DeBoer was definitely the right hire. I just don't think he was. I don't think he was. If he loses this game, I think it shows that he wasn't ready. And I don't mean like. I'm being optimistic when I say that. I think he's a first-year coach at Alabama. Expectations are the ceiling, basically, especially with how good Alabama's program has been in the last 20 years. I think he just needs time. I mean, he came from a Pac-12 school, and I'm not saying the Pac-12 is a small conference or anything. Absolutely, by no means is it not. I think he just needs time. I do think he was the right hire. Brian Kelly, I think he has met or exceeded expectations that he has been given. I do think that if he loses this and they fail to make the playoffs this year, I think the leash will get shorter. But here, this is his accolades so far. These are his losses. He has lost on a missed PAT in his first game, a blowout to a top 10 team, which I believe was Tennessee in 2022. He lost in a extremely hostile environment at Kyle Field. He lost to the eventual national champions in their own state. He lost to 3 New Year's Six participants away from home. He lost in another opening weekend neutral site game, and he lost at Kyle Field again, which is this year's Texas A&M loss. To be fair to Brian Kelly, he has had 2 top 10 seasons and 2 bowl wins. He has, I feel, met expectations. I think LSU fans, as well as the media, are just a little. It's been 5 years, but I think they're still hungover over the 2019 season, which is one of the greatest football teams of all time. I think they were expecting the same outcome from Brian Kelly, which I don't think was realistic, and I still don't think is realistic. I don't think it will be realistic for 5 years, because that team was otherworldly. I think he was the right hire there. I think his leash gets shorter if they don't make the playoffs if they lose this weekend.
Yeah, he'll start getting the James Franklin treatment, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna talk. I forgot to talk about him. Him and James Franklin are in the similar boat. I think.
I feel like they already do get the same treatment.
No, they do
Similar,
absolutely because they don't.
Yeah,
I mean, Kelly got the same treatment at Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they both produce good teams, but they don't produce elite teams. They don't get over the hump. And I said that on the podcast earlier this week about James Franklin. Does Penn State want to be elite? Do they want to stick with like a 9-3, 10-2 type of year, or do they want to get over the hump and make the playoffs and win?
Yeah, I think the thing is though, LSU, I think they want to be elite. They want to be a team that's challenging for the SEC every single year.
I agree, and they should be.
Kelly, don't get me wrong. Kelly's a good coach. I just think that he has his flaws, as does any coach. So, there's But moving on, predictions for the game, fellas.
I want Bama to lose. I've been thinking about it all week, but I really don't think they're going to lose. I think Milroe's going to play a really good game. And I had a dream last night. This is gonna be really, really weird. But I had a dream that Kendrick Law scored a game-winning touchdown and hit this pose. Not even kidding. I don't know why I had that shit, but I
I
had
don't
that
know
dream.
why that just made me feel good about it, but it did.
I don't know why. So if he does that, then I have high IQ. But to be fair, I had like 100 dreams last night because I woke up every 10 minutes. But
Yeah, that NyQuil goes crazy, dude. Yeah, I had a dream that Jalen Murray threw 10 picks and 0 touchdowns. So you know me. I realistically I think Alabama's going to win this game. I think LSU's too one-dimensional of an offense for them to beat a team like Alabama. So give me the Tide, 18-10.
Such a random score.
such a random score.
There's just all field goals. All 18 of our points will be coming from field goals.
Yep.
Yeah. So I always pick against Alabama because, like, for some reason I get super superstitious about sports, but it hasn't worked that well this year. So, I think I'm going to take Bama, but close, very, very close. I think this comes down to the last drive for one of the two teams. But I think ultimately Alabama wins it off the bye week. So, now moving on.
Did LSU not have a bye week, bro?
They did. They did. I don't know. I just said it like that. I don't know. Um, but we got a bunch of games this weekend that could potentially spoil seasons for teams. So we have 6 games that I listed out, and we're gonna run through them. First game, Charlie was actually talking a lot about with us last night, but it's Army at North Texas. How can North Texas pull off this upset?
Army's pass defense sucks, and North Texas has a great air attack. I feel like you always see highlights of North Texas having like a 5'9" wide receiver who's like the greatest player of all time. You don't hear about him. And they have, I forget his name, they have this white guy who's like 5'11", and he has the same thing that we've seen in past years. So I think if North Texas can air it out, and I wouldn't recommend running the ball versus Army, but if they can establish the run game, then I think they have a great chance to win because we haven't really seen Army tested deep.
Yeah. North Texas ranks, I think, damn near last in every single defensive category. However, their pass offense is second in the country. They're scoring over 40 points a game, which is really, really good. So they're going to have to air it out. But like you said, I think they're going to have to, even if it's not working, they can't go full one-dimensional against Army, because if you go one-dimensional against Army as a team that's not clearly better than Army, you're not going to win that game. So, Army, while they don't have the greatest pass defense, they are only allowing 11 points a game, which is the best in college football. And they have a top 3 run defense. So it's hard for me to say that North Texas will win this game unless Army plays just a really bad game. I mean, Army's defense is full on swarm. I mean, 11 hats to the ball. If you watched them play last weekend, I mean, it was hustle to the ball carrier every single play. They had 6 sacks, 3 picks last week. So North Texas is going to have to get out to an early lead and kind of make Army uncomfortable, get Army in situations where they aren't comfortable with, make them throw the ball more than they want to throw the ball, although they have been throwing the ball more than usual this year. But Bryson Daly is questionable heading into this game, QB for Army. So if he doesn't play, I think this game gets really interesting. But right now, if he's playing, I'm saying Army wins, no spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's going to be a spoiler, by the way.
I think it'll be close. For North Texas to win this game, they need to outpass Army's rush game. And that's because Army's secondary sucks and their pass defense sucks. But North Texas's defense as a whole sucks. So I really think they need to outplay, which sounds strange because they're not on the field at the same time. But North Texas needs to outplay Army's offense. And if they can do that, I think they have a good shot at winning this game. And I think their defense also has to have a career day. But do we have to worry about that?
So spoiler or not?
I think this is a spoiler. I think UNT is gonna pass for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns.
All right. Next up, we got a game that Peter is actually going to. We got Clemson at Virginia Tech. What can Virginia Tech do to beat the Tigers?
Run the ball.
You can't even fucking read it.
All I have to say is run the ball. I hate Dabo Sweeney, so hopefully they lose. But I think Clemson's gonna win this game.
Terrible take. All right, so this is what I gotta say. So, Kyron Drones and Bashil Tootin are questionable for this week. Kyron Drones did practice yesterday. He was a full practice participant. I didn't see anything about Tootin. Unfortunately, Clemson usually rebounds well under Dabo against when they lose, so that's not good because they just got their shit ran over last week. Tech just has to run the shit out of the ball. Clemson is missing 2 starting defensive linemen. They're missing DeMonte Capehart and Trey Williams. And Virginia Tech has a deep running back room. Even last week against Syracuse, their starting running back, I don't even know his name, but he had 80 yards on 5.5 yards per carry, which is great. That's fantastic. I also think Virginia Tech needs to exploit. I know Kyron Drones, he's not he's kind of like a Walmart Jalen Murrow, which means he's much worse in the passing game. But I do think that Virginia Tech needs to exploit Clemson's secondary, the lack of depth that they have in the secondary. They have weaknesses covering balls in the air in one-on-one coverage. They a lot of the times get flat out beat or they commit pass interference. And I think Virginia Tech has good receivers, and I think they can absolutely make use of that shitty secondary.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think this game obviously starts with the run game. Last week against Louisville, Isaac Brown, who's Louisville's great running back, went for 155 yards on 20 carries. That is over 7 yards a carry. If Tootin plays this game, there is a chance that Tootin has another really, really big game, as well as Drones, because as we know, Drones is pretty lethal with his legs also. So if they both play this game, it's going to be a very tough game for Clemson. Clemson's defense ranks 58th in the country in rush yards. So, they haven't really played, or Virginia Tech hasn't really played a great team at home. They've gone on the road. They played at Miami, but they haven't played an elite team at home. They get Clemson this week, and for lack of better words, Clemson's offense last week looked like pure shit. They held the ball for 38 minutes last week, and their offense still looked abysmal. They controlled the clock they had an advantage of 16 minutes, 38-22, and they still couldn't put up enough points to win the game. So, if Virginia Tech can run the ball, if Tootin plays, if Drones plays, if they can run the ball, I think they can run the ball, is going to open up a lot of one-on-one opportunities for those receivers, guys like Aiden Powell, or Aiden, oh gosh, forgot his name. Aiden Green.
Jalen Lane. That's who it is. Jalen Lane.
Jalen Lane, Aiden Green. If you get those guys one-on-one, those are some fast guys who can go up and get it too. But I think one of the more interesting matchups in this game is Antoine Powell Jr. against that Clemson offensive front. There's a chance he could have himself a career day, and that's weird because he had 4 sacks a few weeks ago, but he could really, really feast, especially with how Clemson likes to move Klubnik around. I think Powell is going to have a big game and have an opportunity to have a big game. Obviously, they like to move him around, they like to get him outside of the pocket. However, Powell is one of those guys who can chase down Klubnik, who can get out there and who can impact the play, even if Klubnik does get outside the pocket. So I think if Tootin and Drones play this game, Blacksburg, packed out stadium, give me a spoiler. If they don't, I don't think it will be, but spoiler if they play.
Yeah, give me the Hokies. Let's see. Let me guess a good score. 35-20. Give me the Hokies.
Hokies 35-20. Charlie, spoiler or not?
Not. If the running backs play, maybe, but I don't think so. Dabo's not losing 2 games in a row. Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, Dabo, like you said, Dabo doesn't lose multiple games in a row very often. That just doesn't happen. But he's going on the road. He's playing at a tough place, and he's playing a team who matches up well against his, in all honesty. So we'll definitely see how that goes. Definitely, I don't think they will make the playoffs, but you could consider this a playoff elimination game for them as well.
For Clemson, yeah.
we got the Battle of the Mormons
I
out.
actually call it the Holy War.
The Holy War, sorry, Holy War, Battle of the Mormons out in Utah. We have BYU undefeated, top of the Big 12, going to quite the disappointing Utah team. But this game's at 10:15. This is a late Big 12 game in the end of the season. A lot of weird things happen in the Big 12 at the end of the season, especially to good Big 12 teams. How can Utah pull off the upset?
If Isaac Wilson doesn't turn the ball over, Kyle Whittingham is one of my favorite coaches in the country. He'll scheme up a good defense to win this game. But I just think it falls on the back of Isaac Wilson. He's a freshman, Zach Wilson's brother. And if he doesn't get turnover happy and actually plays a good game for once in his life, I think they actually have a chance to win this game. But on the other side, I don't see Utah really being able to stop Retzloff and all the high-powered offense of BYU. So, yeah. I'm going
Dude, Charlie's about to die, bro. Like you said, Isaac Wilson simply has to ball out. He's had a turnover problem this year, but he's also made some really nice plays also. So if he limits those turnovers, I think Utah has a great chance. Utah has a good defense. Their run defense is a little suspect. However, they only allowed 22 points a game, which is 11th in FBS, and then they're also top 15 in pass yards per game. Kyle Whittingham's a great coach, like you said. He's going to scheme something up. He knows this is a big game. He knows they can win it at home late. Rice Eccles is going to be rocking. If there's anyone who can stop this offense in the Big 12, it's Kyle Whittingham in Utah, in my opinion. If there's anyone who can stop it, not beat them, stop the offense. Like there's more ways you can lose to a team, but if there's anyone who can really stop this offense and really scheme up a way to stop a high-powered offense like BYU's, I think it's Whittingham, and I think it's the Utah defense. But another interesting part of this is BYU does not stop the run very well. And Utah has a guy named Micah Bernard, who in my opinion is one of the better running backs in the country. Dog. He's averaging 6 a carry. If Utah can get Micah going, it's going to give Wilson some more time and a lot more pressure off of his shoulders. It's getting him a lot more room to work, and he's going to be able to see the defense a lot better with less pressure in his face. They're going to drop more, or they're going to bring more that he's going to have quick open routes that he's going to be able to deliver them to. So, if they can get Bernard going against a weaker BYU run defense, I think Utah has a shot. And don't get me wrong, I know Utah has lost 4 games in a row, but I really think this one can be close.
Yeah, I mean, for Zach or Isaac Wilson, he just needs to, like Charlie said, keep the ball, don't turn it over, and I think he needs to be more efficient with it too. I mean, he's only completing like 55% of his passes this year. I think he needs to get the ball to his receivers at a higher clip than he does right now. And yeah, like you said, getting the running game going, that'll open doors for Isaac, and it'll buy more time, especially in the pocket. It'll also open the playbook. So
yeah, I think it'll open up a lot of those short and easy routes too that can go for a lot of rack. Like if you have guys loading the box and really anticipating the run, if you incorporate an RPO in there and you can draw those guys in, you're able to dump off a quick curl, a quick slant, a quick drag, a quick flat, just those easy routes to kind of get Wilson going, which could open up something downfield later. So,
yeah,
never know. Not a spoiler, but close for me.
I think it's a spoiler. I love Kyle Whittingham. I'd suck it. I'm sorry, guys. I actually love him. He's one of my favorite coaches in the country. So, yeah, I'm picking Utah.
I don't think it's a spoiler, and I don't think it's a close game. I think BYU is winning by... What's the spread right now on BYU? It's like...
I think it's like 3.
It's like
Is
3.
it really 3? The spread is 3. BYU's covering by like 1 million points.
Put it in the parlay this weekend.
I should have. I think I might have, honestly. So I think someone did. I don't know who.
I could really see Utah winning this. I actually picked this as we actually picked this as a trap game. I think this is a trap game for BYU. They're on a high horse right now. They're undefeated. They're going into a tough place to play against the team who could out-scheme them. They have a coach that could out-scheme them. So, like I said, very close game. I don't know if Utah is good enough this year, especially at the quarterback position, to beat BYU, but I think it could be a close game. Staying in the Big 12, Colorado goes to Texas Tech. Texas Tech got a big win last weekend at home against Iowa State. How does Texas Tech pull it off?
By slowing down the Colorado passing attack. Colorado just can't run the ball. They're improving at it actually, but they can't run the ball. And I still am a little suspect on Colorado's defense. And Texas Tech still, or last week, actually could throw the ball really well. And if Texas Tech can squeeze in a few big plays here and there, slow down the Colorado passing attack, slow down Travis Hunter Glaze, meat sucking, they have a chance to win this game. But yeah.
Peter.
I don't really got much. Colorado's offense has been pretty electric this year. I mean, like Charlie said, they have 0 run game. So maybe just committing to the pass. Maybe they can stop them. I don't really know. Maybe.
Yeah. Obviously, they're probably going to try to bracket Travis. They're going to try and keep 2 guys on him at once.
Travis is the best wide receiver on that team.
So yeah, they're going to have to go one-on-one with everyone else. And to be quite frank, I don't think they can. Obviously, they had a big win last weekend, but Colorado seemingly is getting better at all the little things. They're getting better defensively week by week. Their pass game is staying consistent, but it looks like the other things are finally starting to come together a little bit. I don't think this is a spoiler. I think Colorado is going to air it out against a really, really bad Texas Tech defense. I think Texas Tech will be a little too emotional after what last week. I think they got bowl eligible last week. Big win against the top team. I think Colorado comes in, and I think they win, and I think they cover.
I think that Colorado wins this game and covers too. Just get Jimmy Horn the ball, please. Thank you.
Yeah, give it to Colorado. I don't know. Let's find the spread.
I think every week we say something about Jimmy Horn.
I think we did too. Yeah, Colorado's spread is 4.5. I think Colorado's covering that.
I think they win by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah.
Lastly, staying in the Big 12, Iowa State, who lost to Texas Tech last weekend, goes to a struggling Kansas team. How could Kansas potentially pull off a big upset and end Iowa State's playoff hopes?
Jalen Daniels can be the quarterback that he was supposed to be. Kansas can be the team they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I just don't think Kansas is good at all. I think they're really bad, actually. I had them winning the Big 12, and that pisses me off now.
Damn.
Dude,
I mean, I had Utah winning it, so I'm not going to talk.
My championship was Utah-Kansas.
Yeah.
But I just don't think they're pulling up the upset.
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, Kansas sucks. And if, like he said, unless if Jalen Daniels starts playing like Jaden Daniels, then there's no way that Kansas wins this.
Remember how much aura Jalen Daniels had last year?
Dude, Jalen Daniels was a dog last year. I don't know what happened. I think he just got too cocky. I don't know.
He should have went to the league, bro.
Probably. Better than what I don't know. He's going to end up being like a receiver in the NFL now. I don't know. Yeah, Iowa State, great pass defense, one of the best in the country, but they have one of the worst run defenses in the country. And Kansas runs the ball well. Devin Neal, Jalen Daniels, a good backfield duo back there. So run game could be an issue for Iowa State. But Jalen Daniels has 9 picks to only 11 touchdowns this year. If he can't limit those, I don't think he will limit those. I don't think they win this game. Iowa's picked off 14 passes in 8 games, which is unbelievable. That's almost 2 picks a game. So that defense is too good. I don't think Jalen Daniels is going to be able to make the plays through the air to win that game. I got Iowa State bouncing back. I guess we all do. So, sorry, we have one more. Moving over to the Big Ten. Michigan goes to Bloomington against an undefeated Indiana team. How does Michigan pull this one off?
They don't.
Don. It seems like I'm waiting every week for Donovan Edwards to score, and it's so annoying. I don't want him to score, but I want him to get out his 70-yard runs before Ohio State. And if Donovan Edwards can actually realize that he's a good football player, maybe they will win this game. And if they can stop Kevin Rourke, or is that even how you say his name?
Who?
Kevin Rourke.
You mean Curtis Rourke?
Or Curtis Rourke, sorry. Then they have a chance to win this game.
Yeah. PETA? Oh wait, you
Yeah,
already said they don't.
there's no chance.
Um, yeah, I think what Michigan has to do is they can't get too fancy. They got to play with nothing to lose, but they got to play smart. Don't risk it on fourth down early in the game. Indiana's a team that plays off momentum. Once Indiana gets going, they really don't stop. Every game, once momentum starts to flow towards Indiana's side, it just turns into a blowout. I mean, that's what happens pretty much every game. You can't go for it on those, sketchy fourth downs on your side of the field. You can't get that risky, but you do want to play with nothing to lose. You want to open up the whole playbook. Like I said last week, what they need to do against Oregon, which in a way they did, but they weren't good enough to win that game, obviously. You really gotta play the game slow, keep the time of possession on your side. Michigan State controlled the time of possession for part of the first quarter last week. They got up to a 10-0 lead. But, I mean, the only way I could really see this game going Michigan's way is if Michigan stops the run. Indiana is a run first team. They run 56% of their plays are run plays. And Michigan has a top 25 run defense. Guys like Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham are going to have big games. But I don't know if they can stop it for 4 quarters. Ultimately, I think Indiana wins this game, but I do think Michigan covers the 13.5 point spread.
I
I feel
don't.
like that's a pretty big spread.
Indiana's covering.
I agree. Indiana's covering.
All right. Moving on, last kind of topic I wanted to cover this week. The initial college football playoff rankings came out this week. What does it appear like the committee is valuing most?
Conference.
As in
Uh,
which conferences?
SEC. Big Ten.
I could agree. I agree with that.
yeah, I feel like they're not valuing record a lot, especially because BYU and Indiana were 8 and 9, I think, which
hmm
is really bad for BYU because Boise State's at 12, and if Boise State jumps BYU won't make the playoff. It's just crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the strength of schedule is definitely playing into it, and then also good loss versus bad losses. I mean, Ohio State is second. Their losses to Oregon, which is probably the best loss you can have, according to the rankings. Um, and I think that's why Georgia is three, and that's why Ohio State is two, because despite the fact that Georgia has a bigger win, despite they have a win against at Texas, they have a worse loss, which was against Alabama. So I think good loss versus bad loss is definitely one of the main criterias they were looking at. Could be wrong, but that's kind of what it appears at. And then yeah, conference. I mean, Big Ten and SEC, and honestly, rightfully so, are going to get a little bit of advantage because of the absolute gauntlet that these schools are playing on a week-to-week basis. So, I mean, y'all think they got it right though for this first ranking?
Yeah, I do think they got it right.
I do think so.
I mean, there are like a few spots here and there I would have tweaked, but maybe Missouri not being ranked, but
Yeah,
Oh, Missouri should not be in the top 25 at all.
I agree. I completely agree. I think it should be South Carolina over Missouri.
I think I might put Clemson a little lower. I mean, they're at 23 now. I think they might be 24. Because if you remove Missouri, then 24 opens up.
Yeah.
But that's like, who do you move
Army
in?
at 25 is crazy too.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I know. I don't know. I feel like they actually, like, they're not valuing record as much just because, Army's an undefeated team, but they haven't really played the best opponents yet. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's kind of going into it. Like, they're ranking it not just based on pure record, but like resume, strength of schedule,
Oh, yeah,
that kind of.
I think resume is like the biggest thing they're valuing
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, strength of schedule is definitely one of them. I think for the most part, like the top 15 looked pretty good to me. Like I felt like it made logical sense, everything. I wouldn't change too much about it. Um, so that's just me. But I feel like there are a few teams from like 16 to 25 that I would definitely move around some. But obviously that doesn't matter too much, really, I
Yeah,
don't
no.
think. At least not right now. So I don't think I would rearrange it in any different way, though.
I think Pitt should be lower. I think
Yeah,
Pitt should be lower. Missouri should not be in it. I think Army should be higher. I think, but they don't have the resume, which sucks. I think Ole Miss should be higher.
I think South Carolina should be in there. Yeah, I mean, what is Vandy?
Unranked.
I think they're
Really?
They're 19th.
Vandy's unranked.
Oh,
Really?
no, I think they're ranked.
Huh? November 5th, college football rankings. They are not ranked. Here's the top 20. Here's the 20. Colorado, Washington State, Louisville, Clemson, Missouri, Army. They're not ranked.
That's the top 20?
25. That's
I think they're
20
like
to 25.
18.
I can't believe they're not ranked.
Yeah, this is ESPN college football playoff rankings, November 5th.
I think
They are not
Washington.
ranked.
You know what's funny is I think Washington State is like kind of a sneaky team. Aren't they a one-loss team?
They are 7-1.
That's an interesting. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like who they got, but they could potentially ruin a season if they have
Find
somebody who's trying to contend.
No, they play Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, and Wyoming. So maybe if they went out.
Washington State, they're not really in they're in the
They're Pac-12. I mean, it's just them and Oregon State, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's not a conference championship game, so there's really no way they get in.
Technically, their conference championship is on November 23rd, which is against Oregon State. So.
Oh, so it's just no matter what they play Oregon State. Because I know next.
I don't know if they're gonna actually have a conference championship because that's just a random game. It's just a scheduled game. Because they play Wyoming on the 30th.
You see, next year they scheduled a home and home, like in the same season, which is crazy. With Oregon State, it's like NFL kind of vibe to it. I don't know, but weird. But yeah, I've definitely put at least Vandy or South Carolina on there.
South Carolina definitely.
Yeah, South Carolina looks like an impressive team. What's funny is South Carolina goes to Vandy this week, favored by I think 4.5 points, which I think
it's a good game.
It's going to be a very good game. I think that Vandy covers that, but that's obviously a topic for another day. I think I had that on my best bets actually.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, we appreciate y'all watching today. Obviously, Charlie is dying, but we appreciate y'all tuning in despite that. Big weekend this weekend. I will be at the Indiana-Michigan game. Charlie will be at the Virginia Tech-Clemson game. We got a lot of good.
Charlie will not. Charlie's gonna be in his dorm sipping on Benadryl.
I'm not Charlie. I'm gonna say Peter. Yeah. Charlie's gonna be sipping on Benadryl and taking Advil all weekend. Peter will be at the Virginia Tech-Clemson game. I will be at the Indiana-Michigan game. A lot of good content will come from that. So make sure y'all tune into the Instagram stories. Not as many posts this weekend, but we might do some sort of post after it. But appreciate y'all watching. As always, like, subscribe. YouTube link is in the Instagram link is in the description. And as always, peace.